Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
So Nikki, Dalida and Dr. Lee, welcome to panel discussion 11, optimizing the health practices to include the emotional and spiritual aspects of health. I'd like to start this discussion by asking first Nikki, given that you're our first presenter, Nikki, and then also the same question of Dalida. Where is your country at when it comes to including the emotional and spiritual aspects of health?
Ooh.
I know, it's a big one. I thought it'd be a good place to start. We know where we'd like it to be. Where are you from, Nikki?
I'm in the UK.
Okay.
So I was born north of Nottinghamshire and I live south of London now. We've got a long way to go. A long way to go, I think. There is an alternative kind of network for health, of course, that people can tap into. So it's all there, it's all available, and of course it would be, because it's rising and it's our time to go back into the natural world and to understand ourselves as energetic beings. And I think, that's the fundamental principle where we apply health. But it's always secondary for sure. It's just, again, we have to move beyond the doctrines and the programs that say that health is, you go to the doctor, you're sick, you go to the doctor. And it's a system of cause and effect and mitigating symptoms. So in terms of health, as we call kind of thriving, it's a very different concept to health in terms of symptom management. And so we want to be expanding that and broadening out into well-being and thriving in our union of body, mind and spirit. So I think we've got a long way to go. Although that said, of course, my world is very biased because I'm immersed in this stuff, so I've got a lot of connections with a lot of people who are very connected and use alternative practices and approaches to health and well-being. Difficult question to answer, Michelle.
Well, it's a clarion call, isn't it not? This is where we're going, and the beauty of, I guess the reason why I asked that is I'm in Australia and I know where we're at here, so I'm very curious on we're here for a global unity consciousness. So where are we at as a globe in terms of the need to have the connection between the emotional and the spiritual aspects of health, because we know that our body is our messenger.
Yeah. Do you know, I think one thing that I would say, that there probably is more spirituality and there is more of an individual practice, but it's not yet kind of necessarily public or owned or acceptable. So I think, if I think about conversations that I have with people or clients that come to me, I know they'll come to me because there's a curiosity in terms of what I do. But generally, I would speak to people in my network, and the spirituality is often something that feels held because of perhaps stepping out of religion, or stepping out of, I think religions, again, it's a paradigm that's been distorted in some way for some of us. And if we can let go of some of those distortions and unwind some of those distortions, we do come into this beautiful union where it's okay to have different sets of beliefs, but we have that one kind of unity consciousness that binds us and connects us all. So I'm sure it's all moving. Here in the UK, but it does feel like there's a ways to go yet. Although I'm sure lockdown and so on is bringing people inward. It's forcing us to look inward, isn't it, and connect and think about our own lives and how we navigate that, and reaching out for help as well. You know, for those that are struggling, as Dalida said, it's so important for us to be able to connect and reach out. It's important for us to say that we're not okay, to say that we're struggling, to say that we're having difficulties, and not feel shame by that, and not feel like we have to be okay in order to be accepted or loved even. So, yeah.
100%. Dr. Lee, would you like to speak before we pass over to Dalida?
Well, I just want to say thank you for bringing in a Qigong to embody all that you've done in your healing journey. And we know how powerful that is in the transformational work. So my question to you is that how far are you willing to commit now that you've stepped up to the platform of public speaking for the first time, and so beautifully done? Is that where is your vision for yourself to bring this work out in the world so that we can integrate this emotional and spiritual aspects of health into the greater community? Where do you see that, where your direction and your action can take you in the spiritual emergence?
I am willing, Wai Ching, I am willing. I took it to Canada last year, so I presented at the Canadian Energy Psychology Conference last year, and I would have been connecting with ASAP, the American Association. I was supposed to be taking it to LA this summer, but that got cancelled. So I'm committed. I'm told we'll go on the wings of angels, and my work and who I am is about liberating other people. So there are practitioners coming on board, and other people can take this and teach it. So for me, I've brought it through. It was a huge immersion. I channeled loads of beliefs through the chakras, so it's been a huge immersion, just creating the whole system and protocol and how that works. So for me, I'm kind of inviting team on board.
Yes.
It's one of those kind of, having done a lot of this alone for many years, I'm ready to kind of open up and invite team on board so that it can go on the wings of angels.
It's beautiful. So if we have time for this, Michelle, maybe we can invite Nikki to share more of her work, her personal work, and how we can support that too in this unity consciousness. Yes,
I would love to hear more.
Yeah, I actually would like to ask Dalida, when you referred the question on the country where she is in, and she's in China, right in the vortex of this supposed expansion of this both energetic virus as well as physical. And for you to what are you doing to create this chalice for the spiritual emergence and embodying these emotional and spiritual aspects of health where you are? And especially you speak the language, and because the Chinese people really need this work now. So I would just love to hear what your concrete plans are in embodying this work, which is so vital.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Wai Ching, for asking that question. And I will put Michelle's question and yours together and maybe actually compare my birth country that no longer exists, because I do come from, I feel still I am part of Yugoslavia. So one common denominator for both Yugoslavia and China was, of course, communism, and the perspective towards religion has been somewhere, and spirituality have been somewhere cut off because of communism. And I feel that back in Serbia, the rise of religion as a result of war was quite steep. So a lot of people started to go back into religion, and a similar situation is happening here now. Back in Serbia, it's about Orthodox Christianity, and then here in China, it's Buddhism, and a lot of people are seeing China as communist, but actually the amount of seeking for spirituality here is really enormous, and a lot of people are looking into finding the reasons and meaning beyond the material, because there has been such growth happening in the past 2 decades that is and people already partially got saturated with seeking for material wealth, and now they're beginning to look into spiritual health and the wealth within their own heart. So there is acknowledgement, mindfulness is needed. They're seeking for peace, which I kind of like observe as coming out of the economic some growth, let's say. And then at the same time, I compare with Serbia, that has been going through 2 decades of decaying, and it's actually helplessness, victimhood, seeking the space or savior, kind of like some aspect of being saved from religion, but being tired, not really finding the strength from it, but constantly being in the space of being victims. So both are, I can see how both are needing help. So when COVID started here, I was for 2 months, I was on February and March, I was online supporting the community and helping them make sense out of everything. It just all reminded me of the time of war and this being disconnected and uncertainty. So I felt like I had almost like a mission to fulfill, to be there for people. But then in April, it started in Europe. So I realized like, okay, now let me go and turn to supporting the community there. And it's realizing that, okay, like it's been an ongoing journey of needing to support. Somewhere there, I also realized that although I knew the lesson, but still it's so easy to forget about ourselves when we are saying, okay, what is my mission to support the community? So reinforced again, coming always back to my own practice, to be resourceful, to find a grounding in whatever that is that I feel the world, I can contribute to the world. And then going, even if it's one person at a time, that it is still an impactful way of working. I run a small center here, so there's a community that gathers together. We do the practice every week, also sharing mindful self-compassion programs with the community, where I believe that this moment of speaking kindly and softly to ourselves is perhaps the first step of how we can show up there for the world. And then if we are just trying to be there for others, but constantly belittling ourselves and having our own insecurities, it eventually shows in forms such as depression or anxiety and so on. So that's my take of how I can create a little dent in the universe, and also knowing that I'm just part of a really big community that is doing a lot of work. So that is really inspiring.
Right. So the name of your center is Beijing Mindfulness Center, is that right?
Yes.
So for those
Yes.
of us who want to connect with you and support the
Yes,
work and
there
put
is
the
a
links
website.
there.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dalida, I often wonder how many others are dealing with depression that are experiencing a spiritual awakening.
Absolutely. And I think as Nikki mentioned as well, it was the time to go and Wai Ching, it was the time of, it's such a strange word, lockdown, right? And maybe we are all really afraid of losing our freedom.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's also, at least here in China, we found a way that actually reducing the freedom means enabling the freedom afterwards. So let's go inside, allow this kind of like constrict, some lack of movement to happen for a while, and then we can expand even more with new ideas.
The image that came to me was cocooning, like
yes,
a cocoon, and then a chrysalis,
absolutely.
and then coming
Yes.
forth like a butterfly.
Beautiful
Exactly
analogy.
What I use, yes. So what have you found, let's say, in the Chinese psyche, they find it difficult to speak their emotions. And so you
Yes.
counsel in Chinese as well.
Yes.
So have you
Yes.
found a huge outflooding of emotions from that sense of constriction to something more expansive? Or still?
You know, some and some. There is a lot of. There's been, because of that growth within a Chinese community, I think the key that I'm working with people who have been neglected in their childhood because parents were looking into working to provide for the future. So they are really not finding. So when we say, oh, feel, open up, right? They don't know where to go. There is no reference because there is no sense of physical touch, of actually embracing these emotions when they were children. So they're learning now because they're seeing their children in maybe a bit more developed consciousness, and they're seeking for attention and connection. So it's beautiful to see how this generation is teaching their parents actually to do some soul searching. And there is a lot of exploration, a lot of attending of workshops, and this yearning to learn what it means to actually accept oneself, love oneself, and a lot of forgiveness for their families and what their parents have done. So there's certainly a lot of work that is happening. And I'm really inspired to be part of it, and especially also for women. The role of women, I think, is changing really a lot, and that is beautiful to experience.
Yes.
Thank you for your questions. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot to carry. That's just the personal counseling plus the collective consciousness of both the countries that you're holding the consciousness for, and also moving through the sense. Of course, we all know depression, which I've been through as well, as we all came out like butterflies now.
Yes.
And then we all have to go and fly around and share our colors, right, with everybody now. Yes, and so you're holding a lot there. So thank you for doing this work and coming forth. Yes, the little dog.
He's saying, "Hey,
yeah, you see the interspecies connection, right? Like, yeah. Yes. And also, this work actually, you know, how we heal is by bringing joy, right?
Absolutely.
Into this, and how to share that now. Yes.
Yes.
So.
And humor as well.
And humor, yes, definitely.
Yes. I love it when my children reflect back at me that which I have and teach them, and often it's, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, point taken. Because
greatest teachers.
Absolutely, yes. Nikki, may I ask you to share a little bit more about your work, please, and also particularly the aspect of when we are giving our power away, how to claim that and move that to empowerment.
Yeah. It's a really good shift to be able to navigate. We give our power away more than we, I think, realize for many people. But certainly we give our power away when we're subscribing to belief systems or programs that we are not conscious of, that we're not aware of. So part of the journey is to become aware that we've got these programs or these patterns running. So and they're usually programs or patterns, I think, where powerlessness is concerned, of unsafety and fear driven, and of our own limitation, where we felt inadequate or felt not good enough, felt like what we have to say is not important, or we won't be listened to, we won't be held, honoured, respected. And so we tend to then just prevent ourselves from stepping forward, from being seen, from being heard, from saying, being in our own truth. So when I say that, judgment comes up. So this fear of judgment, and also our ability to release judgment of ourselves and release judgment of others, so we can be around many different truths and many different experiences without being negated ourselves. So my work, and not necessarily just the Healing Insight method, I think the Healing Insight method utilizes some of these kind of core principles, is first kind of going into the feeling. So in a session, what I do more often than not is to feel into where someone is at now, where someone is feeling contracted or feeling disempowered in some way. And I think we can all relate to that to some extent at the moment. And then feeling into, what is that for me? Where's that in my body? So coming into the body, we have to feel it in the body and where it is. If it were energy, how would it speak? How would it move? How would it express itself? Where did I first feel this energy? So if we can move back down the timeline, or allow the imprints where we took on these beliefs, took on these ideas to come into our consciousness, into our awareness. And then more often than not, as Dalida says, it's we bring love into that, just loving kindness, and we make it okay that we felt that, or that we decided that in that time frame, so that we can bring compassion and bring that inner standing to this situation, to this this moment in time. And it is always love and compassion and forgiveness that heals and allows the release of that kind of stuck or trapped energy, so that we can see differently, so that we can express energy where we felt angry, or where we felt repressed, or where we felt hurt or wounded. So, what's important is both the expression of that, whether that's energetic, played out through your mind, or whether that's allowing yourself to feel that and observe it as energy in the body, moving and shifting and changing. But once we've expressed that energy and that's released, it makes way for the new, so that we can align. And this is where the belief work is important. When we vibrationally align with, I am empowered, I am important, I am as significant as anybody else, we are all equal. It allows the reality to shift on the outside, and of course that might cause a little discomfort, as you've probably seen with me today, but at the same time, we still step into a new reality, and that reality becomes more familiar and more comfortable. And so we we open up to our worthiness and our importance and the significance of who we are. And that empowerment to be our unique selves, to be our own individual unique selves, that unique spark of a lot of my social media posts and on my website is, we together we rise, we do this together. And it's about being our own individual unique spark, and that means finding our own voice and our own empowerment, allowing ourselves to be self as part of this beautiful spectrum of light. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
Nikki, it makes perfect sense, and you are shining so bright. Yes. Lovely lady.
Your white light is shining on in all the colors and the rainbow colors too. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's what happens when we release that empowerment. It allows the light to come through as we become clearer. We're much clearer, and it's a real service to self, but service to humanity as well. But not easy. And referring to the talks on experiencing depression and so on. Depression it is, from my experience and from working with my clients, often just a huge breakthrough. And it's sometimes the dissolution of the ego, where we sometimes feel like we are nothing, we're nobody, and we have to surrender that and almost go into that void and go into that journey of the soul, so that we can. It's almost letting go. Then once we've individuated, almost letting go of that identity, so that we can become part of the collective, unified field. And I think think sometimes when people are hitting depression, certainly what I've seen, and at the moment where there's such influxes of light, huge amounts of light coming into the body, then the body has to alchemize all of the density. So I think particularly for spiritual beings and teachers at the moment, it's very hard. It's a very challenging process to go through, because we've got these huge influxes of light, and then the body has to alchemize that, and it does that through clearing the density and feeling the density. So very much an individual process at the moment as we do it together.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yes, thank you.
We are in this together, and I love that together we rise. That is absolutely beautiful, and it is so powerful and so true. And just look at us here together, sharing, and we know, we trust that the wisdom that we're sharing today will fall into the hearts and souls of those that need to hear it.
And to know there's love. Sorry.
Yes.
There's so much love for us, so much love and support when we open to receiving it. Worthy of receiving love. That's another beautiful alignment to allow ourselves to actually receive. Yeah.
It is tragic that is not natural to us.
Not yet.
Not yet, yes.
This is what we have to bring forth in the new education systems, right? And all systems of the breakdown of the old systems and bringing in the new is to integrate all the spiritual insights and awareness and practices, make it available. That I think all of us here have that responsibility right now. It's a soul responsibility, SOUL, to bring it out into the world now. To bring whatever light we have, and just that would overshadow all the other doubts and so on, to be strong messengers for others too in this unity work.
100%. Dalida, may I ask you to talk about the fine line between finding the strength to embrace the pain but not sinking into it?
Of course, it's. I would say that first, it's probably unique for each person. I don't think that there is one recipe to touch pain. There's if there's this sense that maybe we have certain thresholds. First, we need to understand there's this concept of backdraft. That I think it's really important for people to understand. When our heart is closed for a really long time, and if we open it suddenly, there will be backdraft that happens. And backdraft is in firefighting, is the concept when there's fire that in a enclosed space that stops actually burning. So there's only smoke and this generation of heat. So firefighters are trained to know if the door should be open or not, because if they open the door in that scenario, then there will be, because of oxygen, there will be a big explosion. So this is how we need to learn to touch on pain, like firefighters who are kind of like touching the doorknob and knowing according to the amount of heat how much can the door be open or not. So the first step is to learn how to and it's not easy to do it on our own, so of course with support of others. So this knowing when it's becoming overwhelming, because when we are overwhelmed, there's no learning. We cannot go through it with joy. We are just reinforcing trauma, right? So it's like with 3 areas, there's a space where I'm feeling really safe, and when I'm not touching on pain and maybe creating the illusion of joy, right? Mm-hmm. And because I know mentally that that's where I should be. Then there is another layer that is coming where there is opening to pain, and it's becoming almost like intrigue, curiosity. And it's good to explore pain that is maybe on scale from 1 to 10, somewhere 3 or 4. so that we can learn first, develop our kind of like muscle of dealing with pain before we can go deep into some traumas that are much bigger. And if that is happening, then definitely looking for a professional help. So the signs that our heart is closing and that we are not really open to pain anymore is irritability, anger, overthinking, rumination. So when that happens, we can just gently come back to ourselves and just acknowledge, like, oh, I'm closing, and my heart is closing, and it just means I'm struggling right now. So because at that time we often tend to point the finger in another direction and say, oh, it's you who are causing it, right? So it's such an easy place to blame on others why they're creating this pain for us. So of course, cognitively, I think all of this may make sense, but again, practice, and just knowing that we can also on purpose touch some pain where we already kind of like mastered and in all of this find a safe space. So they asked Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Zen practitioner, on how much we should look into these difficult emotions, and he said not much. Not much at all.
Great advice.
Right?
I love it.
Yes. So it's like finding the space where we can connect with joy and be observing, and then finding that balance. So it is really a dance of awareness and acceptance in the end. Yeah.
Thank you. And that is a wonderful, wonderful explanation. I really believe that it is our duty and our responsibility to bring joy, to bring the energy of abundance and happiness and love, and allow that to overpower the pain and the struggles and the suffering, because it does. And that what we focus on grows, yes?
That's right. Have to raise the frequency for all our
right.
unifying work, yes. Especially those of us who know, and in this beautiful chalice of communion and sharing on a mental level, on emotional level, on energetic soul level, that we know that we are doing powerful outreach in this chalice, the world united. And then we just have to know the realities of the results, on the individual results of the work that Dalida does, and Nikki and you, Michelle, that it is real. And we just give thanks to all the divine forces that have guided us, each one of us, each soul that has converged here to do this work together. So, and bring it the joy and just go forth like butterflies. Yeah.
100%. Nikki and Dalida, I would love to just offer you the opportunity to speak into our topic again, if you have anything further that you'd like to add, and just to reinforce that, the optimizing the health practices to include the emotional and spiritual aspects of health.
At that last point, Michelle, that you just made that was part of my talk, which I didn't include. But so important, and that's really what it's all about. It is recognizing, when we come into recognizing the power of belief and we align with the positive beliefs, we start creating from that energetic space. And the more focus we put on the positive, on things working out, realizing that we do work in the quantum field, and that we can, have an impact over our reality, and therefore, the reality of us as a collective. So even this coming together in this forum, it's beautiful, because it's all about this unity consciousness. It's all about bringing light and bringing love, and sharing stories and sharing wisdom, and opening up to everybody's wisdom, because we all have this little piece of the puzzle or the jigsaw. But in terms of health and optimizing our health, do focus on the positive, even if it's affirmations. Affirmations do go some way just to stopping the old track from running in the wrong direction. So if the programs are coming up whereby we're feeling disempowered or disconnected or separate or alone, you know, moving into I'm a connected being, I'm supported, I'm loved, I am empowered, I'm liberated, I'm free. We start to just shift the energy focus, and that energy focus is so important for the world in which we want to create. And this is where we're here now, isn't it, in terms of seeding the new earth and seeding the golden age. And it's here. I can feel it.
Oh, I can too.
It's just
it's palpable.
Yeah,
It's joyful about it.
Bringing that through. Yeah. So yes, that's a really important, I think, aspect to focus on, is where we focus our intention does grow. So we know that there are agendas, and I always refer to them as attempted agendas, and I don't see them playing out, and I see that we will create our liberation, because that's what we're here for. That's why we've incarnated at this time. And so it's trust, faith.
Thank you.
We're all feeling a little bit misplaced, and that is okay. And just to embrace that discomfort as an opportunity for the birth of something new, as Wai Ching, you mentioned, it's coming out of a cocoon, or this is a cocoon time. And it's not easy to come out of that stillness, and it's definitely not easy to come out of the stillness and then be forced back in. It seems that we are going through layers of transformations at the moment. And it's one lesson I learned from China is patience. And I'm just hoping that we all find the wisdom of patience and trust that this is coming into, that we are somewhere there. It's all going to make sense in the future, right? I mean, even if it doesn't make sense now. And it's okay to reach out for help. There is so much going on, like these conferences, and to really reach out and feel part of the community. I really believe that together we will overcome all of this. Reach in, yes.
Yeah, we are all here to support each other. And if it hadn't been for all of the beautiful spiritual teachers and souls that picked me up and straightened my crown, I wouldn't be here today. And we do that for each other, so that it is the pay it forward, it's pass it on, where we are absolutely in this together.
Yes, absolutely.
Wei Ching, did you have anything that you'd like to add before we close this beautiful session? I don't want to go, just by the way, but
I was just feeling, I was feeling Nikki again, you know, perhaps maybe to invite Nikki to just take us through a meditation before we have to go. Is it time already, Michelle? With such a beautiful cohesion and communion, feeling all this feminine energy. So is it time, Michelle?
It is time, but before, and Nikki, if you would do that and take us out with a meditation and a close, that would be beautiful. Yeah. I would just love to offer both Nikki and Dalida our heartfelt gratitude from the World Parliament of Spirituality, and share with you a gorgeous certificate of appreciation, pleasure, and also to Dalida and appreciation. And your message is superbly powerful, and I just also wish to honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Dalida outreach into China, and perhaps she could also take us into a really short meditation in Chinese, so that this could reach out to your people in China, to your center, through your center. What do you think of that idea?
I can certainly do that. I'm not sure how Europe will connect with me on that
Perhaps
right now.
there are many Chinese people, so I was just feeling the whole communion, unity consciousness of this theme, and just that you are Yugoslavian, Serbian, speaking Chinese, and this is really a rare moment of combining those the tones and the nuances in sound healing, and also the symbols. It could be just one line, but I'm just feeling embodying that. What do you feel about that, Michelle?
Fabulous. I'd like to also add that Romeo has put he's been with us through the presentation, a beautiful message in the chat. Tibetan art of healing says, don't regard your sickness as a hindrance or virtue. Keep your mind unfabricated, detached. Old sickness will disappear by themselves and you will be unaffected by new ones. So thank you for adding that in, Romeo. That is absolutely beautiful.
Wonderful.
Shall I open up and then bring some words in, Dalida? Is that, yeah?
Please.
Okay, lovely.
Please.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
So settle into your bodies. Bring the breath into the body. Just relaxing the muscles, relaxing the stomach muscles. And let's just bring our awareness to the root chakra and drop anchor. And just feel your light, your consciousness moving down into the earth and dropping right into the center of the earth, into the heart of Gaia. As we ground these beautiful energies and frequencies, grounding, rooting, and anchoring into the heart of Gaia, connecting with the breath of Gaia. Allow the chakras to open, intending the chakras to open, the heart chakra to open, welcoming in the emerald flame, healing energy, as we witness heart energy awakening within ourselves and across the planet for humanity. Breathing into the heart and allowing the expansion. Surrendering to the love, the energy of unconditional love, the consciousness of unconditional love. And as we reside in the heart, just opening the crown, intending for the crown chakras to open, and the upper chakras, we welcome in unity consciousness. I work particularly with the Christ consciousness, with the energy of Yeshua and of Babaji. Babaji was with me last night. It's good to see him here within the meditation too. And just feel into that expansion. That golden light. So welcome you in, Dalida, with your words.
慢慢把自己的思想转到另外一个语言，感觉一下在当下呼吸，也有可能思想是跑来跑去的，允许思想跑来跑去，然后慢慢邀请自己感觉呼吸，每一次进入这个呼吸的感觉，可以跟自己轻轻地说一下：“我到了。”我到家了。慢慢的邀请自己，跟自己联系，跟大家联系。表达感恩，对所有的人，表达感恩给自己。谢谢大家。Thank you.
Thank you. If I may close with a little light language. Suasatia sito anakia ko ora kiana akia satua. Hia kia ka ora kiana oa sata ua kia satukia. Hia satua ua hiana oa kia satukuri hiana otstia kiaka. Bringing this light and embodying this light into the earth. Sua satakua kiana a kia satur kiana asatua. Yakia in gratitude and grace. Sua satua kiana atia satua kiana. Thank you.
So very perfect and so very powerful. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Creator, and all that is, for reminding us that unity consciousness lives in our hearts. It is who we are. May this World Parliament of Spirituality create a tsunami ripple of unconditional love, opening the heart of humanity as the magnificent radiant lights we already are. Dalida, Wei-Ching, Nikki, and to all of our beautiful physical, non-physical support and assistance, to our team behind the scenes, thank you. And thank you for joining us on day 3. Sending much until we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for wonderful.
And so it is.
So it is.
Bye.